In 1983, a woman named Chen Xiuying woke up at 4 in the morning in a 2-room apartment in Wuhan and fed 5 people on a pot of rice congee, a handful of dried peanuts, and 1 salted egg split 5 ways. She never sat down while they ate. That breakfast is number 12 on this list. Number 3 was carried in a cloth bundle and eaten standing at a factory gate before the whistle blew. Number 1 kept coal miners alive through 12-hour shifts in the mountains of Shanxi, and nobody has written it down. Hi, my name is Jason and this is Lost Asian Foods. Number 25. Baijiu plain rice, congee, a pot of water and a handful of rice left on a coal stove overnight. By 4 in the morning, the rice had broken down into a pale, silky porridge that coated your throat and sat warm in your stomach for hours. No seasoning, no garnish, just congee. In Guangdong and Fujian, grandmothers made baijiu every single morning the same way they breathed. A kilogram of rice cost 30 fen in 1983. That made 10 bowls. 3 fen per bowl. People talk about overnight oats like they invented something. Your grandmother invented overnight oats. She just used rice, and she did not put it on the internet. The original version had no toppings because it was made by someone who had to catch a bus in 20 minutes. Number 24. UTO fried dough sticks. Your grandmother knew the oil was ready by the sound. A small piece of dough dropped in told her everything. If it puffed immediately, you were eating well that morning. UTO vendors had been awake since 2 in the morning preparing the dough. By 4:30, the line had already formed. Factory workers, construction laborers, school children in uniforms, everyone stood in the same line. 2 UTO cost 5 fen. You ate them walking, or tore them into pieces and dropped them into your congee, where they softened into something between bread and custard. That combination was the breakfast of half of southern China for most of the 20th century. Today, UTO comes in plastic packages from convenience stores, pre-fried and room temperature, soft in the wrong way. A factory cannot replicate what was made in 20 minutes of hot oil before sunrise. Number 23. Xian Daojiang, savory soy milk. Not the sweet version, not the cold version from a carton. The hot, savory version with a splash of soy sauce, a drizzle of chili oil, a spoonful of dried shrimp, a handful of scallions, and a pour of black vinegar that curdled the fresh hot soy milk into soft silken curds the moment it hit the bowl. In Shanghai and Suzhou, Xian Daojiang was the working person's breakfast. The Daojiang shop opened at 4 in the morning. The woman who ran it had been grinding soybeans since midnight. Fresh soy milk required grinding, soaking, straining, and boiling. Every batch took hours. Every bowl cost 8 fen. The vinegar curdling was the technique nobody taught you in a classroom. You poured the hot soy milk over the vinegar already sitting at the bottom of the bowl, and the heat did the work. The curds formed on their own, like something alive. You ate it with a spoon and a piece of xiaobing, a sesame flatbread, and you were ready for whatever the shift required. I have tried explaining Xian Daojiang to people who only know the sweetened carton version. They do not believe me that the savory one is better. They are wrong. The savory one is better. This is not up for debate. Number 22. Xiaobing, sesame flatbread. Layered wheat dough was brushed with sesame paste, folded, rolled, pressed, and baked against the wall of a clay oven until the outside was shatteringly crisp and the inside stayed soft with the faint sweetness of toasted sesame. The sesame seeds on the outside burned slightly at the edges, and that slight burn was intentional. A xiaobing cost 3 fen in Beijing in 1981. The baker arrived at 3 in the morning to fire the oven. The clay oven held heat in a way that no modern electric oven does. The bread baked from the radiant heat of the clay walls, not from a heating element below. That difference in heat source created a crust that nobody has been able to fully replicate outside of a traditional oven. Eaten on its own, Xiaobing was breakfast. Stuffed with a youtiao, it became a meal that construction workers in Beijing carried to the site in a cloth bag and ate before the foreman took roll call. Number 21. Sifan Tuan, sticky rice youtiao roll. Cold, sticky rice pressed flat, a youtiao placed at the center, sometimes a smear of fermented bean curd, sometimes a pinch of dried pork floss. The rice was then rolled tightly by hand into a cylinder that held its shape without any wrapper. No banana leaf, no plastic. Just the sticky rice holding itself together through compression. In Shanghai in the 1980s, Sifan Tuan was sold from the baskets of women who stood outside factory gates at 5 in the morning. Each ball was wrapped in paper. One cost about 10 fen. A worker bought 2 and ate them on the walk from the gate to the floor. The rice had to be the right temperature. Too hot, and the roll collapsed. Too cold, and the rice went hard and tasteless. The women who made these knew the exact window of temperature by feel. They touched the rice with their palms the way a baker touches bread dough, and they knew. Number 20. Nian Gao Tang, rice cake soup. Sliced white rice cakes are dropped into a broth of pork bones or dried anchovies, with a few leaves of bok choy and a soft boiled egg. The rice cakes start firm and become chewy as they absorb the broth. By the time they are ready to eat, the outer layer has gone soft, while the center keeps its resistance. In Ningbo and the surrounding coastal cities of Zhejiang Province, Nian Gao Tang was the cold weather breakfast from October through March. The pork bone broth had simmered overnight on the same coal stove that heated the apartment. By morning it was rich and slightly gelatinous, and the smell had already traveled through the thin walls into the neighbor's apartment. A bowl cost about 12 fen from a street vendor. A family making it at home spent less than that for 4 people. Number 19. Reigan Mian, hot dry noodles. This is Wuhan's breakfast, and Wuhan will not let you forget it. Alkaline wheat noodles are boiled until just cooked, drained immediately, then tossed in sesame paste thinned with a little of the cooking water, a spoon of chili oil, a splash of soy sauce, a handful of chopped scallion, and a pinch of ground Sichuan pepper if you had it. The noodles had to be eaten immediately. 30 seconds of waiting and the sesame paste seized up and the whole bowl went from silky to gluey. You did not photograph Reigan Mian, you ate Reigan Mian. In Wuhan in 1985, there were Reigan Mian vendors on every single block in the old city before 6 in the morning. The vendor would toss your bowl in about 45 seconds. Workers ate standing at the cart. Nobody sat down. Nobody lingered. You ate, you left, you caught your bus. The alkaline noodles are what made this distinct. You cannot substitute regular wheat noodles and call it Reigan Mian. Your grandmother from Wuhan would hear you say that and put you outside. Number 18. Da Bing, large sesame flatbread. Da Bing was the older, thicker, less refined cousin of Xiaobing. It was made from a simple wheat flour dough with lard folded in. Cooks pressed it flat as a hand and cooked it on a dry iron griddle until both sides developed a crust that crackled when you bent it. The inside stayed soft and slightly greasy in a way that was completely satisfying at 5 in the morning. In the rural counties of Hebei and Shandong, Da Bing was not just breakfast, it was also lunch. A worker would fold one piece around a strip of dried tofu and a pinch of salt and carry it to the field. The bread did not go stale for hours. The lard kept it pliable. Nothing was wasted. 1 da bing cost 2 fen. A family of 5 could be fed breakfast for 10 fen. That math was why da bing appeared in almost every farming household across northern China for most of the 20th century. Number 17. Mian hu tang, wheat paste soup. Ground wheat flour is stirred into boiling water with a little salt until it thickens into a smooth, beige, slightly translucent paste, like a thin soup. Sometimes a beaten egg is drizzled in at the end and stirred into thin ribbons. Sometimes a spoonful of sesame oil goes on top. Nothing else. This was it. In Shanxi and Henan, mian hu tang was the breakfast of absolute necessity. There were mornings when the flour jar was the only jar with anything in it. A woman who had flour and water and a coal stove could still put something warm in front of her children before school. Nobody puts mian hu tang on a menu. Nobody photographs it. It has no cultural cachet, no regional ambassador, no food writer championing its revival. It is the meal that existed below the level of documentation. But in the kitchens of central China in the 1980s, it was what stood between a child and an empty stomach on a January morning. Number 16. Luobo si bing, radish shred flatbread. Thin wheat dough was pressed flat and filled with grated white radish, scallion, salt, and sesame oil. It was folded and pan-fried in a thin film of lard until both sides were golden and the radish inside steamed tender. As the radish cooked, it released water, and that water created steam inside the bread, puffing the layers apart. In Tianjin, luobo si bing was sold from griddles on street corners before dawn. The smell of radish and sesame on a hot pan traveled a full city block in cold air, and workers followed their noses. A piece cost 5 fen. You ate it hot, burned your fingers, and did not care. Number 15. Tofu nao, tofu brain. The name sounds alarming. The dish is extraordinary. Fresh, silken tofu. So soft, it quivered when the bowl was carried to the table. Topped with a thin, savory broth, lightly thickened with starch, a pour of chili oil, a handful of soaked dried shrimp, a spoon of fermented black beans, and chopped cilantro if the season was right. The tofu was made fresh each morning. The texture that made it worthwhile, that trembling softness that broke apart at the touch of a spoon into silken clouds, lasted for about 3 hours after it was made. After that, the texture changed. The window was small. The vendor knew this. In Sichuan and Chongqing, tofu nao vendors started setting up at 4 in the morning. By 7, the good tofu was gone, and what remained was the tofu from the second batch, which was never as good as the first. Everyone knew this. Everyone tried to be there for the first batch. Number 14. Tang yu si ba, sweet glutinous rice cake in brown sugar syrup. Glutinous rice was pounded until completely smooth, then shaped into small ovals by hand. The cakes were pan-fried in a little oil until the outside developed a crust that was slightly chewy and golden. Each piece was then dropped into a syrup of brown sugar and water, which caramelized around it as the syrup thickened. In Hunan and Guizhou, Tang yu ci ba was the cold-weather breakfast of farming families from November through February. The glutinous rice had been harvested in autumn, and it was pounded on weekends when the whole family was home. The pounding was communal work. Children took turns at the mortar. Your arms were tired before breakfast was made. The finished ci ba could be stored for days and reheated in the sugar syrup each morning. One batch of pounding fed a family of 5 for a week of breakfasts. The labor was front-loaded. The payoff was 7 cold mornings made warmer. Number 13. Xian Ru Bao, pork-filled steamed bun. Not the restaurant version with decorative folds and a glistening skin, but the home version. Thick white dough leavened with a piece of starter dough saved from the last batch is filled with a mixture of ground pork, ginger, scallion, soy sauce, and sesame oil. The bun is pleated closed at the top and steamed for 15 minutes over a pot of boiling water. In Shandong and Hebei, a family would make a batch of 40 buns on Sunday evening. Monday through Friday, the buns were reheated in the steamer for 8 minutes each morning. Breakfast was made on Sunday and eaten all week. That efficiency was not laziness, it was intelligence. It was a woman saying, "I have 5 mornings to feed this family, and I will solve 5 mornings in one Sunday evening." A batch of 40 buns cost about 60 fen in ingredients. That is less than 2 fen per bun, and they were better than anything in any restaurant. Number 12. Xiandanzhou, salted egg congee. Back to Chen Xiuying in Wuhan. 1 salted egg. 5 people. The egg was cut into quarters, then each quarter into eighths. Each person received 1 piece of egg to eat with their bowl of plain rice congee. The egg was intensely salty, and the saltiness was the point. A small piece seasoned 4 or 5 spoonfuls of plain congee. You made it last. Salted eggs were made at home by submerging fresh duck eggs in a brine of salt and clay or ash for 30 to 40 days. They cost almost nothing to produce if you had the salt and the time. The yolk turned orange, dense and oily. The white turned firm and deeply savory. 1 salted egg fed 5 people breakfast. That is not a recipe. That is a calculation. That is a woman who understood exactly how much salt a person needed to get through a morning and distributed it accordingly to everyone but herself. She never sat down while they ate. That detail is not a footnote. That detail is the whole story. Number 11. Yu cha, oil tea. Not tea with oil in it. A complete dish. Fried rice flour is stirred into boiling water with ginger and rendered lard, then topped with fried peanuts, dried shrimp, fried soybeans, and chopped scallion. The base is thick and savory, and the toppings add crunch and protein. 6 fen for the whole bowl. In Guangxi, among the Dong and Yao communities, yucha was not just breakfast. It was the first and sometimes the only hot thing consumed before a full day of agricultural work. The lard provided calories that lasted. The rice flour provided slow energy. The body had something to burn for the next 4 hours. Outside of Guangxi, almost no one knows this dish exists. It never entered the urban food vocabulary. Those mountain villages are still there. The young people have gone to Shenzhen. Number 10. Jianbing, savory crepe. A thin wheat and mung bean flour batter is poured onto a large flat iron griddle and spread in a circle. An egg is cracked directly onto the surface and spread across the crepe before it sets. A brush of fermented bean paste, a brush of chili sauce, a handful of scallion, and a crispy cracker called bao kui are placed at the center. The whole thing is folded into a package the size of a hand. Jianbing has survived into the modern era. That is a miracle and also a tragedy because the modern version is not the 1980s version. The 1980s version came from a flat cart pushed by a person who had been awake since 3 in the morning. The batter was made fresh. The bean paste was made in someone's home kitchen. The bao kui cracker was fried each morning. In Tianjin, where Jianbing originated, workers ate them while walking. The cart operator folded the crepe around the cracker and handed it over in a piece of paper in under 90 seconds. Nobody waited. Nobody sat. The line moved because everyone was late. Number 9. Zha Kai Ru Si Mian, pickled mustard root and pork noodle soup. Thin wheat noodles swim in a broth made from pork bones, with a spoonful of shredded pickled mustard root and a pinch of shredded pork. The mustard root was the ingredient that cost almost nothing and contributed almost everything. It was sour, slightly spicy, and deeply savory, with a crunch that survived the heat of the broth if you ate fast enough. In Chongqing and Sichuan, this noodle soup was eaten for breakfast by workers who needed something more substantial than congee, but could not afford meat beyond the few shreds the bone broth provided. The pickled mustard root was the solution. It made the broth taste like it had been there all week. It made the noodles feel like a complete meal. A bowl cost about 12 fen at a noodle stall. The stall opened at 4:30. By 6, the bone broth was half gone and getting weaker. You went early, or you got the thin version. And you did not complain, because 12 fen was 12 fen. Number 8. Fried mantou with condensed milk. Leftover steamed mantou, the plain white bun of northern China, sliced thick and fried in a pan with a little lard until both cut sides turned golden. Then drizzled with a thin line of condensed milk from a can that was kept sealed between uses with a piece of foil pressed over the holes. The condensed milk was the luxury. The can lasted 2 weeks in a family of 5 if you were disciplined about the drizzle. The mantou itself was made in batches on the weekend and eaten through the week, steamed and plain, and on Sunday morning fried with the condensed milk as a small acknowledgement that the week was over. This was not poverty food in the sense that it felt like deprivation. It felt like a reward. Children woke up on Sunday for fried mantou with condensed milk the way children in other parts of the world woke up for pancakes. The can of condensed milk in the cabinet was the promise that Sunday was different from Monday. Number 7. Hongdo Zhou, red bean congee. The same plain congee base as number 25, but the rice had been cooked with dried red adzuki beans, a small piece of dried tangerine peel, and a knuckle of rock sugar. The beans had been soaked overnight, and by morning they had softened completely into the porridge, turning it faintly pink and slightly sweet. In Guangdong and Hong Kong in the 1980s, Hongdo Zhou was the Sunday morning breakfast. The rock sugar was the expense. One piece of rock sugar cost about 4 fen and sweetened a pot that fed a family of 4. The dried tangerine peel was saved from oranges, eaten the previous winter. Nothing was bought for this breakfast that was not already in the house. It tasted like something special. It cost almost nothing. The gap between those two facts is the entire point of Chinese home cooking in the 1980s. Number 6. Lao Bing, unleavened griddle cake. Wheat flour, water, salt, and a thin smear of sesame paste were rolled into the layers before cooking. No yeast, no leavening, no waiting for the dough to rise. The dough was mixed, rested for 20 minutes, rolled flat, layered with sesame paste, rolled up, and then rolled flat again so the sesame paste ran through the layers like veins through stone, then cooked on a dry cast iron pan. In the rural counties of Gansu and Qinghai in the northwest, Lao Bing was the breakfast that miners and road workers carried to the job site wrapped in cloth. It did not need reheating. It did not fall apart. It kept a person full through a 6-hour morning shift in cold mountain air. A single Lao Bing the size of a dinner plate cost about 3 fen in flour and fed one person for half a day. The sesame paste was made at home from sesame seeds grown in the backyard. Everything came from within a 2-kilometer radius of the kitchen where it was made. Number 5. Mi Xian, rice noodle soup. Fresh rice noodles dropped into a broth that had been simmering since the previous evening. By 4:30 in the morning, it was deep, clear, and slightly golden. That depth of flavor was not possible in 40 minutes. It was the product of hours, of bones giving up everything they had to the water, ground pork with fermented black beans and dried chili on top, bean sprouts, a squeeze of lime, fresh herbs if the season allowed. In Yunnan, mi xian was breakfast the same way rice was breakfast everywhere else. Non-negotiable, a fact of the morning. The fresh noodle vendors are being replaced by dried packets. The overnight broth is replaced by powder dissolved in hot water. Anyone who has eaten both knows the difference. Anyone who has only eaten the powder does not. Number 4. Baozi with pickled vegetables. Steamed buns filled not with pork or sweet bean paste, but with a mixture of finely chopped pickled vegetables. glass noodles, and tofu, seasoned with sesame oil and a pinch of white pepper. The filling cost almost nothing. The pickled vegetables were made in autumn, from cabbage, turnip, and mustard greens submerged in salt brine in ceramic jars that sat on the balcony through the winter. In northeastern China, in Heilongjiang and Jilin, where winters reached -40 degrees, the pickled vegetable baozi was the breakfast of factory workers in cities like Harbin and Shenyang from October through April. The buns were sold from steamer baskets on the backs of three-wheeled carts by vendors who stood outside in the cold, in padded coats, and did not appear to mind. One bun cost 5 fen. A worker bought 3, that was breakfast, 15 fen, and it was hot. And it had been made by someone who was standing in -20-degree weather so that you did not have to. Think about that the next time you complain that your coffee took 4 minutes. Number 3. Chow bing. Stir-fried flatbread. Leftover flatbread torn into pieces, stir-fried in a wok with egg, scallion, cabbage, and soy sauce over the highest flame the coal stove could produce. The bread toasted and absorbed the soy sauce. The egg coated everything. The cabbage went soft at the edges while keeping a crunch at the center. This was the leftover breakfast. The nothing in the house breakfast. The Tuesday before payday breakfast. The name changed by province. The bread changed. The vegetable changed. The principle never changed. You do not throw away bread. You fry it with whatever is left, you eat it, you go to work, and you do not discuss it. Chow bing has no restaurant version, no revival planned. It exists only in the memory of people who made it, because the alternative was nothing. Number 2. Hula tang, pepper and spice hot soup. Bone broth thickened with wheat starch, hit hard with white pepper, ginger, star anise, and dried chili. Glass noodles, tofu knots, wood ear mushroom floating inside. The soup made your forehead sweat in cold air. That was the point. In Henan, hula tang was sold from massive steel barrels over coal fires at factory gates before 4 in the morning. 8 fen a bowl in 1984. You returned the ceramic bowl when you were done. The white pepper did not just warm you, it woke you. It told every part of your body that was still asleep that the shift had started, whether it agreed or not. Hula tang vendors still exist in Zhengzhou. The steel barrels are still there before sunrise. The miners who needed them are gone. Number 1. Gaoliangzhou with pickled turnip, sorghum congee. A coal miner in Datong in 1982 woke up at 3:45 in the morning. His wife had put the sorghum on before midnight. She was awake before him. She poured his bowl. She stood at the door when he left. She did not know if every shift was going to be the last one. Nobody in a coal family talked about that. Cracked sorghum simmered into a gray-brown porridge, slightly sweet, slightly bitter. A small dish of pickled turnips sat on the side, dense and chewy, and salty. You used the pickle to season each spoonful the way Chen Shuying used the salted egg. A small amount of something intense stretched across a whole bowl of something plain. No restaurant will ever serve this. No food writer is flying to Datong to document it. The women who made it are in their 80s now. It was never called anything except morning. Make one of these this week. Just one. Buy a bag of rice and make congee the plain way, with nothing on it, and eat it from a bowl while it is still hot enough to burn your hands. Or find a jianbing cart if your city still has one. Or soak some red beans overnight and cook them into rice the next morning with a piece of rock sugar. Do not look it up on an app. Call someone who is older than you and ask them what they ate before sunrise when they were young and working and the world had not yet become convenient. Write down what they tell you. Those breakfasts are not in any cookbook. They live in the memories of people who made them in the dark, for bodies that needed them, with hands that never stopped moving. Sit down at the table. Use a real bowl. Eat slowly. Because these breakfasts were never about being cheap. They were about being present. About a body that still had a shift ahead of it and a kitchen that was still on. About someone who decided that the person eating was worth waking up early for, even if that person was themselves. I'm Jason. This is Lost Asian Foods. Tell me in the comments which of these 25 breakfasts your family made. Tell me if your grandmother made congee every morning without thinking about it the same way she breathed. I want to know if the jianbing gets more love than the hula tang. I want to know if anyone else has a grandmother whose right arm was stronger than her left from years of stirring a pot before sunrise. Because somewhere in these 25 breakfasts is a smell that belongs to you, and a meal that someone made in the dark is worth more than anything that comes in a package. These breakfasts deserve to be remembered.